Arlen Voss lived alone in a small apartment on the 32nd floor of a crowded city station orbiting a red dwarf star. The city never slept. Bright lights flashed through the windows of every building, and the distant hum of engines and hovercraft filled the air day and night. Arlen liked the noise. It made him feel alive, even when life was quiet inside his tiny apartment. Every evening, without fail, a small creature appeared on his balcony. At first he thought it was a stray cat. Its fur was dark, almost black, and its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. It never meowed or made a sound. It simply watched him. Arlen called it Shadow Cat, and began leaving scraps of food outside. Sometimes it accepted the food immediately. Other times, it waited patiently until he returned inside. One night, as he placed a small bowl of leftover noodles on the balcony, he noticed something strange. The cat's eyes seemed sharper, more alive than a normal animal's. They glowed like molten gold, and when it looked at him, it felt as if it could see his thoughts. Arlen shook his head. "It's just a cat," he whispered. "Just a cat." He did not notice the faint scales under its fur, small and almost invisible. The scales caught the dim light and shimmered softly. The cat's tail flicked once, then it turned its head toward the sky, watching something he could not see. Arlen wondered if the city lights had disturbed it. Days passed and Arlen's routine continued. He worked as a repair technician for old transport drones, fixing machines that no one else wanted to touch. Each evening, he returned home to the small bowl of noodles or bits of dried meat he left for Shadow Cat. He never touched it directly. Something about the way it moved made him cautious, though he could not explain why. One evening, a strange sound echoed through the city streets below. A deep vibration, almost like a hum, but louder. Arlen looked down. The lights in the distance flickered, and the people below paused in confusion. Shadow Cat stiffened, its ears flattened against its head. Its eyes glowed brighter than ever. Arlen froze. The city's warnings rarely reached his level. He had never felt fear before, not really. But now, with the small creature watching him, he felt something strange. A cold awareness that something was about to happen. Without warning, a distant shimmer appeared in the sky. A faint, glowing outline of a ship, or maybe more than one, moved faster than any human craft should. The city's sensors did not detect it. Only the cat seemed to notice. Its tail twitched, its body crouched, ready to leap. Arlen's heart pounded. He wanted to call someone. Security drones, police, anyone. But the city's authorities were slow. He could feel the pulse of fear in the cat. It was like it was telling him something, though he could not understand the language. Then it happened. A bright streak of light passed above his building. Shadow Cat arched its back and hissed softly. Sparks of fire, or maybe plasma, flared briefly near its paws. Arlen stumbled backward in shock. The creature had never done anything like this before. It was just a cat, or so he thought. The next day, Arlen noticed the cat had changed. Its eyes were sharper, more aware. Its movements were faster, almost too fast for a normal animal. When he placed the bowl of food outside, it took the food with precision, not hunger. It seemed to study him, learning, watching. Arlen started to feel a strange bond forming. He cared for the cat, not just out of routine but because it was alive in a way no other creature in the city was. He began talking to it, softly, like it was a friend. "I'll keep you safe," he said. "No one will take you from here." The cat blinked slowly and Arlen could swear it understood. One evening, the city's alarm sounded briefly, a warning of incoming patrol drones. Arlen's apartment was in a quiet sector. He had never seen the alarms so close. Shadow Cat crouched, glowing faintly. Arlen's first instinct was to hide it. He grabbed the small creature and brought it inside. Its body was warm under his hands, heavier than it looked. He wrapped it in a blanket and closed the balcony door. The drones passed without incident, but Arlen could feel something changing. Shadow Cat was no longer just a visitor. It was something different. Something dangerous yet fragile. And though he did not understand why, he felt responsible for it. That night, he dreamed of a great winged creature, larger than any city building. Its scales shimmered like the cat's, its eyes golden and intelligent. It spoke without words, and Arlen felt its thoughts in his mind. "Protect me. Keep me safe." When he woke, Shadow Cat was gone. For a moment, panic gripped him. But then, a soft thud from the balcony. The small creature returned, sitting where it always had, staring at him with those strange, molten eyes. Arlen swallowed hard. He had no idea what it really was, or what it could become. All he knew was that he could not let it go. Whatever danger the galaxy held, he would face it. And somehow, he felt that danger was coming closer with every passing night. The next morning, Arlen woke to find Shadow Cat waiting on the balcony, exactly where he left it. But something was different. Its fur shimmered slightly and its body seemed thicker, stronger. When he approached to leave food, it did not move in the usual slow, careful way. It leapt to the bowl with incredible speed, snatched the food and disappeared back into the shadows of the balcony corner. Arlen frowned. He had never seen a normal animal move like that. "You're not a normal cat," he whispered. Shadow Cat blinked slowly at him as if it knew he was speaking the truth. Over the next few days the changes became more noticeable. The creature grew larger, though its size did not make it clumsy. Its claws, once tiny and soft, became sharper, capable of cutting small metal scraps from his balcony railing. Its eyes glowed brighter in the dark, almost as if it could see in the faint starlight better than any camera sensor. Arlen started to notice its intelligence. Shadow Cat began responding to his gestures and commands, though it never made a sound. If he called it by name, it came immediately. If he pointed at something, it would investigate it carefully. It seemed to understand more than any animal should. One evening, while Arlen worked on repairing a drone, Shadow Cat suddenly hissed and arched its back. He looked up and saw a small patrol drone hovering near the building. The drone scanned the area, its sensors sweeping the balcony. Arlen's stomach tightened. His city sector was quiet, usually safe. Why would a patrol drone be here? Before he could react, Shadow Cat moved. Faster than Arlen thought possible, it leapt toward the drone. Sparks flew as it touched the device. The drone's sensors flickered and it spun away, confused. Arlen's jaw dropped. The creature was not just smart, it could defend itself. And it trusted him enough to act. After the drone left, Arlen picked up Shadow Cat. Its body was warm, almost too heavy for its size. He ran his hands along its back and felt the strange scales hidden under its fur. They were hard but flexible like armor. "What are you?" he whispered. Shadow Cat simply blinked, curling against him. That night, the city was unusually quiet. Arlen lay in bed thinking about the creature. He remembered old stories about dragons in the galaxy, ancient beings with great power and intelligence. Could this be a dragon? No, that was impossible. Dragons were legends, not small animals on a balcony in a city orbiting a tiny star. Yet, something in Shadow Cat's eyes told him he was wrong. A few days later, Arlen noticed more changes. The cat's tail flicked with purpose, not just balance. Its eyes followed him constantly, analyzing every movement. And when he spoke to it, it responded, not with words but with emotions he could feel, faintly like a vibration in his mind. Fear, curiosity, trust. It was trying to tell him something, but he did not understand how. Then came the incident. While repairing an old transport drone on the balcony, Arlen lost his grip on a small tool. It fell and bounced off the railing. Before it hit the ground, Shadow Cat leapt and caught it midair, landing gracefully on its paws. Arlen froze. No ordinary animal could do that. I think you're more than a cat," he said softly. Shadow Cat blinked slowly at him as if agreeing. The next night, the city's communication network flashed a brief, encrypted alert. Arlen did not see it at first, but Shadow Cat reacted instantly. Its eyes glowed fiercely and it crouched low, staring into the darkness beyond the balcony. Something, or someone, was coming. Arlen's heart pounded. He had no idea what the alert meant, but Shadow Cat knew. A week passed and the creature's powers became harder to ignore. Small fires appeared where it walked, though they extinguished quickly. Lights in the apartment flickered when it sat near machines. Even Arlen's repaired drones behaved strangely, following the creature's gaze. It was like Shadow Cat could control or influence technology, though it never did anything harmful intentionally. One afternoon, while Arlen worked on a broken air filter in the apartment, Shadow Cat climbed onto the device and tapped it with its paw. Sparks flew, but instead of breaking it, the device fixed itself. Arlen stared in disbelief. "You're repairing machines?" he asked. The creature blinked, satisfied. Arlen started to wonder if he had unknowingly bonded with something ancient. The bond was subtle but real. Shadow Cat would not leave his side and he would not leave it alone. Yet he sensed danger. The patrol drones were becoming more frequent, scanning higher and higher into the city. He was not sure what they sought, but it was clear Shadow Cat was what they wanted. One night, Shadow Cat slept on his chest, and for the first time, Arlen felt a message pass between them. Not in words but in thought. "Danger is near. Be ready." Arlen's fingers tightened around the blanket. He could not see the danger, but he could feel it pressing in. He realized something terrifying. This was no ordinary city patrol or thief. Whatever Shadow Cat was, it had enemies, and they were coming for it. Arlen's quiet life of drones and balcony feeding was over. He would have to act to protect the creature. And deep down he knew that protecting it might put him against the galaxy itself. For the first time, Arlen felt both fear and purpose. Shadow Cat, once a small visitor, was now a companion, a mystery, and a reason to stand against forces he did not yet understand. He vowed silently, no one would take it. Not the drones, not the patrols, not anyone. And Shadow Cat, curled beside him, glowed softly in the dark as if acknowledging the promise. The morning started like any other, but Arlen felt a strange tension in the air. Shadow Cat had been restless all night, pacing the balcony, flicking its tail sharply and glancing at the sky with glowing eyes. Arlen tried to calm it, speaking softly, but it would not settle. Something was coming. Around mid-morning, a distant hum filled the city streets below. Arlen had learned to recognize unusual sounds. This was not normal traffic, not the hum of engines, not even the patrol drones. It was deeper, heavier, like a storm far away. Shadow Cat crouched low, tail twitching rapidly, eyes fixed on the edge of the city. Arlen's stomach tightened. He moved closer to the balcony railing, trying to see what the creature saw. At first he saw nothing but the familiar lights of the megacity. Then, sparks of movement appeared above the buildings, fast, small ships moving too quickly to be human-made. Their shapes shimmered strangely in the artificial light. Before he could react, the nearest craft fired. A streak of plasma cut across the balcony, barely missing the railing. Arlen stumbled backward, shielding Shadow Cat with his arms. The small creature hissed, its body vibrating with a strange energy. Flames appeared around its paws, small at first, then growing brighter and hotter. Arlen froze in shock. This was no cat. The flames did not burn the balcony, but they formed a protective barrier around Shadow Cat. The creature's eyes glowed like molten gold, and Arlen felt heat radiating from it without pain. The attackers fired again, faster this time. Plasma rounds hit the building walls, leaving scorch marks and sparks. Arlen ducked low, covering the creature. "Stay behind me," he shouted, though Shadow Cat did not move. It crouched, ready to defend, and Arlen realized it was relying on him as much as he relied on it. Suddenly Shadow Cat leapt. Its small body expanded in a blur, its wings unfolding in a flash of light. Arlen stumbled backward, shielding his eyes. Where the cat had been, now stood a small dragon no larger than a dog but filled with power. Its scales shimmered like metal, eyes fierce and intelligent. The attackers froze, surprised by the sudden transformation. Shadow Cat, or rather the hatchling, snapped its jaws and let out a hiss that sounded almost like a roar. Flames burst from its mouth, hitting the nearest ship. Sparks flew as the craft twisted violently in the air, engines failing. Arlen's jaw dropped. He had never seen anything like this. You're a dragon," he whispered, voice shaking. The hatchling blinked, then nuzzled his arm as if to calm him. It trusted him even in this chaos. More ships approached, sensing the danger. Shadow Cat leapt from the balcony and hovered in the air, flames dancing around its small body. Each attack was precise, controlled. It did not destroy the city or harm Arlen. It only defended itself and him. Arlen realized something important. This creature, the hatchling, was not just powerful. It understood humans. It reacted to his presence, his emotions, his fear. And it had chosen him. The thought made his heart race. He had protected it every day with food and kindness, and now it protected him. As the skirmish continued, Arlen noticed something strange. The attackers hesitated. Their formation broke slightly as if the hatchling's presence caused fear. He realized that dragons were feared across the galaxy, and even this small one could intimidate trained soldiers. A plasma bolt struck the balcony railing, throwing Arlen backward. Shadow Cat flared its wings, creating a wave of heat that knocked the attackers off balance. Pieces of debris fell around him, and he realized how close he had come to death. Yet the hatchling never left his side. When the battle ended, silence fell. The small ships retreated, disappearing into the distant sky. Smoke drifted around the balcony, but Arlen was unharmed. Shadow Cat returned to his side, curling against him with a soft glow of warmth. He gently stroked its scales. "You saved me," he said softly. "I didn't even know what you were." Shadow Cat blinked slowly, eyes molten, and Arlen felt a rush of emotions. Trust, relief, gratitude. It was communicating with him, not with words but with feeling. For the first time, Arlen understood the truth. Shadow Cat was the hatchling of the Dragon Queen, the only one of its kind in the galaxy. Entire fleets were hunting it, and he had unknowingly taken it in, feeding it scraps on his balcony. The realization was both terrifying and amazing. He thought of the patrol drones, the ships in the sky, the hidden enemies. The galaxy was far larger and more dangerous than he had imagined. Yet here, in this small apartment, he had formed a bond with one of the most powerful beings in existence. And that bond had just saved his life. Arlen looked at the hatchling, still glowing softly beside him. "We're in this together," he whispered. "No one will take you. Not today, not ever." The hatchling nudged his hand and Arlen felt its trust. It was small, but its heart was strong. And somehow he knew that trust was stronger than fear. As the city returned to its usual hum, Arlen sat on the balcony, holding the hatchling in his arms. Outside, the lights twinkled and distant traffic moved through the streets below. But Arlen's world had changed. He was no longer just a human living alone. He was the protector of something precious, something the galaxy wanted desperately. And in that moment he understood something even more important. Humans might be small, weak, and underestimated, but courage, care, and loyalty could make them formidable. He had no weapons, no armies, no fleets. Yet here he stood, alive and unbroken, because he had chosen to protect a being far stronger than himself. Shadowcat blinked up at him, flames softening around its body. The truth was revealed. It was no longer a secret. And Arlen knew the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The city below Arlen's apartment shook with tension. Bright lights from distant fleets filled the sky, reflecting off the tall glass and metal buildings. Dragon warships, massive and dark, hovered just outside the atmosphere. Their engines thrummed like distant thunder. Humans in the city panicked, rushing to shelters, boarding evacuation transports, and sending frantic messages to loved ones. The news systems broadcast warnings non-stop. "Evacuate immediately. Dragon fleets overhead. Do not resist." Arlen felt the weight of the moment pressing on him. In his arms, the hatchling curled, glowing softly but alert, sensing the danger around them. He looked up at the sky. The enormous ships seemed almost alive, shifting as if testing the city like an insect under a microscope. The hum of energy was deafening. People around the city fled, but Arlen did not move. He stepped onto the balcony, holding the hatchling close. He could feel the creature's trust and fear. Its wings flickered with light, tiny sparks of fire dancing along its edges. Arlen took a deep breath. He would not hand it over. Not without guarantees. Not without knowing it would be safe. The first warship descended closer, a shadow so large it blocked the sun. The city below gasped in terror. Energy pulses rippled across the surface of the ship, and holographic projections of dragons appeared, fierce and majestic. Then a smaller craft broke away from the fleet, heading directly toward Arlen's building. A deep, resonant voice filled the air, though it came not from speakers but from the mind itself. Arlen froze. It was the Dragon Queen. "Human," she said. "You harbor my child. Hand it over and your species will not be harmed." Arlen's fingers tightened around the hatchling. Its head pressed against his chest. He could feel its heartbeat, rapid and strong. He looked up at the shimmering projection of the Dragon Queen. Her scales reflected the light of distant stars. Her eyes were like molten gold, larger than the hatchling's, filled with centuries of power and knowledge. "I will not," Arlen said quietly but firmly. "Not until I know it will be safe." The Dragon Queen's voice echoed, filled with fury, curiosity, and authority. "Do you understand the power you hold in defiance? You face the Queen of Dragons. One word and this city, and you will burn." Arlen did not bow. He did not tremble. He held the hatchling closer. "It chose me," he said simply. "And I chose it. I will protect it no matter what." The Queen's eyes narrowed. A pulse of ancient energy washed over the city, making buildings tremble and lights flicker. The air became thick, vibrating with power. Arlen felt it pressing down on him, trying to bend his mind, trying to force him to submit. The hatchling hissed, a warning fire flickering from its mouth, but it stayed calm against him. Arlen's thoughts raced. Fear surged through him, but he did not waver. He imagined the people below, humans fleeing in panic, and he remembered why he could not back down. This hatchling had trusted him. It had survived because of him. And if he gave in now, everything it represented, the bond between species, would be lost. The Dragon Queen studied him. She unleashed visions of fire and destruction, showing what she could do. She pressed into his mind, demanding obedience. Cities burned, ships exploded, entire fleets shattered under her might. The humans would be nothing if she willed it. Yet Arlen's mind did not break. He felt the hatchling's warmth against his chest, its trust flowing into him like a shield. He remembered feeding it scraps, watching over it, protecting it from danger. The Dragon Queen's power was immense, but she had not seen this kind of courage before. A human willing to stand against annihilation, not out of fear, not out of ambition, but out of care for another being. "You are different," she said finally, her voice softer, though still filled with authority. "No human has ever resisted me with such calm. Why do you not fear death?" Arlen looked up at her projection and answered simply, "Because I protect what I care about. Fear will not change that." The hatchling looked up at him, small wings fluttering, fire flickering along its scales. Arlen felt the bond between them strengthen, as if the trust itself gave him courage. The Dragon Queen's eyes widened. In all her centuries, no human had ever faced her like this. They had lied, bargained, begged, or fled. But Arlen had done none of those. He did not plead for mercy. He did not threaten. He only stood firm, calm, and protective. A silence fell over the city. Even the other dragons in the fleet seemed to pause, sensing something they had never encountered before. The Queen shifted her gaze, studying Arlen and the hatchling. Slowly, she descended from the projection, appearing fully in her ship above the city. The engines hummed like a heartbeat, and the shadows of her wings stretched across the buildings. Arlen did not flinch. The hatchling glowed brighter in response, flames curling around its body, but not harming anything. It was ready to defend, but it did not attack. It trusted him to make the decisions. The Dragon Queen spoke again, softer now, almost cautiously. "You risk your life for one so small. You show strength, loyalty, and courage, in ways I did not know humans possessed." Her voice carried across the city, and even those hiding below could feel it. Arlen swallowed. "It is not small," he said. "And humans are not weak. We may be small, but we are brave. We care. That is what makes us strong." The Dragon Queen's golden eyes studied him long and hard. Then she did something unexpected. She lowered her wings slightly and bowed her massive head. The fleet above shifted, as if acknowledging her choice. The humans in the city below slowly emerged from hiding, eyes wide, sensing the end of the immediate danger. The hatchling curled against Arlen's chest, its glow softening. Arlen felt a rush of relief. He had faced the Dragon Queen herself and survived. Not because he had weapons, ships, or armies, but because he had courage and care. And in that moment the galaxy watched. The humans on the balcony holding the hatchling showed that strength could come from loyalty and heart, not just fire and claws. Something in the Dragon Queen's centuries-old mind changed forever. The legend of humans would never be the same again. The city was quiet now, but the tension in the air had not disappeared. The Dragon Queen's fleet still hovered above, but their engines hummed softly, no longer aggressive. Ships and patrols had paused, watching carefully. The humans in the city moved cautiously, eyes on the sky, unsure if the danger had passed or if something greater was unfolding. Arlen stood on his balcony, holding the hatchling close. Its small wings fluttered gently, and faint sparks of fire danced along its scales. The creature was calm now, trusting him completely. Arlen looked at the sky, then at the city below. The people were peeking out of windows and streets, watching silently. No one could have imagined that a single human and a hatchling could stop a fleet of dragons without weapons or armies. The Dragon Queen's voice filled the air again, but this time, it carried a tone of calm authority rather than fury. "Humans are unlike any species I have known. You do not dominate with fire, claws, or warships. You do not take through fear. You protect, you endure, and you show courage in quiet ways." Arlen felt the weight of her words. He did not respond immediately. He simply held the hatchling closer. The creature nudged his chest, resting its head against him. His trust was unshakable, and that trust had changed everything. The Dragon Queen continued. "I declare this hatchling twin-bound to you, human. Until it reaches maturity, it will remain with you, under your care. Its safety will be guaranteed. You have earned that trust. And in doing so, you have taught the galaxy something new." A wave of murmurs swept through the city below. Hollow screens on buildings broadcasted the Queen's declaration. Citizens stared in disbelief. Humans had faced the dragons and won not through fire, but through courage, patience, and care. This was a lesson that could echo across stars, shaping the way species would think of humans forever. Arlen took a deep breath. He did not feel victorious. He felt responsible. The hatchling in his arms was small but powerful, and the galaxy now looked to him as a protector. He had fed it scraps, watched over it, and now the entire galaxy would see what humans could do when they acted with heart. The Dragon Queen hovered above, massive and proud, yet she gave no order to attack or take. Instead, she studied Arlen carefully as if learning a new language of courage. Around her, the fleet held position. Other dragon ships remained at a distance, waiting, observing, curious. They sensed a change in the balance of power, not by weapons but by trust and loyalty. News began to spread through the galaxy. Aliens who had always feared humans began to reconsider. Humans were small, yes, and physically weaker than many species, but they were not simple. They could bond, protect, and stand firm in ways that no predator could anticipate. For Arlen, the realization was slow. He had not fought the dragons with fire or claws. He had done what he had always done. He had cared for the hatchling. That small act, repeated day after day, had reshaped history. Every person in the city now knew that courage was not always loud or violent. Sometimes it was quiet, careful, and personal. The hatchling wriggled in his arms, stretching its small wings. Sparks flew from its tail harmlessly, but the glow illuminated Arlen's face. He smiled softly, feeling the bond that had saved both of them. The Dragon Queen's choice was clear. She had recognized the value in human courage. She had chosen trust over dominance, and in doing so, changed the rules of interaction between species forever. The city slowly returned to life. Humans emerged from hiding, whispering among themselves, awed by what they had witnessed. Some looked at Arlen with admiration, others with disbelief, but all were inspired. They had seen a human protect something far more powerful than himself, without fear, without ambition, without desire for control. Even the hatchling seemed aware of the change. Its glow softened, warmth radiating across Arlen's arms. It had grown not just in strength but in understanding. The bond between them was not just survival, it was partnership, trust, and respect. Across the galaxy, observers from other species sent messages to their leaders. Reports described humans as unpredictable, patient, and capable of loyalty beyond expectation. The stories spread faster than any fleet could travel. Scholars, commanders, and diplomats began to revise their assumptions about humanity. On the balcony, Arlen placed a small dish of food. The hatchling nuzzled it, eating carefully, showing that even creatures of immense power still appreciated care and attention. Arlen laughed softly. For months, he had fed a creature he thought was a simple cat. Now he fed the future of interspecies alliance. The Dragon Queen spoke one final time, her voice calm and resonant. Let this day mark a new understanding. Humans are not defined by weapons or fear, but by care, patience, and courage. They are worthy of respect and their choices can change destinies. Remember this. Arlen watched her leave, the fleet retreating into the sky. The city below slowly resumed its normal rhythm. The humans would rebuild, but now with awe and inspiration. And Arlen remained on his balcony, hatchling glowing in his arms, reflecting on how a simple act of feeding had changed everything. Night fell and stars twinkled in the sky above. Arlen looked up, smiling at the vastness of space. The hatchling yawned, curling against him, tiny flames flickering across its scales. He placed a few scraps of food in the dish again as he had done every night. Only now it was not for a cat. It was for the future of two species, bound by trust, courage, and care. The galaxy had learned something important that day. Humans were not powerful because of weapons or size. They were powerful because of their heart. And in the quiet glow of a balcony, a small human and a dragon hatchling had proven it.